Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Wanted to just do a short live this morning. About the science of why we do badly. I watched this. Hey, Miss Bad Girl. I watched this last night before I went live, and if anyone's not familiar with Mr. Jordan Peterson, that's who I'm going to be referencing this morning. Hey, Crafty Squirrel. So why are we here, and why are we doing badly, right? So we first have to understand that doing badly means that we are attempting to do something. So it's, to fail is to attempt, essentially, right? And those are powerful actions, right? To attempt something, knowing, like our petition, to attempt to design a template to change something is to fail. We probably most certainly will fail with the petition, but to petition is to attempt, right? Do we always not do the things that we think are going to lead to failure, right? A lot of times we do, right? A lot of times we look at something and we say, oh, it's too tall, it's too wide, it's too big, we can't conquer it. So Jordan Peterson, what do we got going here? Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute. So, the science of why we do badly. Okay, I want you guys to really listen to this. You don't have to watch. You can just, good morning, Lizzie. You can just sit back and listen. It's very powerful. It is 11 minutes long, and I hope that it gives some sort of clarity to you about why this YouTube looks like it does. It looks like it does because of the science of being a human, right? Like if we didn't fail at everything we did first, it wouldn't make the win so sweet. If we didn't fail at everything we tried to do first, it means that we never attempted to do anything. Hoo-ah. So I'm going to just let this play. It's 11 minutes long, guys. And what I want you to do is listen to this, but the whole time, good morning, but the whole time be keeping summer as the object and as the theme of this story or of this this complexity, because it is complex. People don't even understand why what they're seeing on the YouTube looks the way it does, right? Well, it looks the way it does because you have a lot of people that this is their first attempt, right? They're garnering attention. It's their first attempt. And quite naturally, being their first attempt, they are going to fail miserably. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play the video. Everyone just go ahead and listen. You can put your feet up. You can close your eyes and just listen. Good morning, Advocate. This morning, Kate, we're talking about the science of why we do things badly, and the science of why the YouTube looks like it does right now. So here we go, guys.
There's this idea in Jungian psychology called the circumambulation. And Jung had this idea that you had a potential future self, which would be in potential everything that you could be, and that it manifests itself moment to moment in your present life by making you interested in things. And the things that you're interested in are the things that would guide you along the path that would lead you to maximal development. Now, it sounds like a metaphysical idea or a mystical idea even, but it's not. It's not. It's a really profoundly biological idea. The idea is something like, well, you're set up so that you're automatically interested in those things that would fully expand you as a well-adapted creature. Well, like, there's nothing radical about that idea. What else could possibly be the case unless there's something fundamentally flawed about you? That is what the situation would be. It's kind of interesting to think about how that would be manifest moment to moment, but the idea is something like, well, your interest is captured by those things that lead you down the path of development. Well, that better be the case. Okay, so that's fine. And so there's some utility in pursuing those things that you're interested in. That's the call to adventure, let's say. So,
we've all felt the push to adventure, correct? We're all here because we want to help, but the issue is that so many of us, we've never tried to help before. So we're trying to help, and we're going to because it's our first maiden voyage into trying to be helpful. We're going to fail. Wow.
And the call to adventure takes you all sorts of places. Now, the problem with the call to adventure is, like, what the hell do you know? You might be interested in things that are kind of warped and bent. And often it's the case that when new parts of people manifest themselves and grip their interests, say, they do it very badly and shoddily. And so you stumble around like an idiot when you try to do something new. That's why the fool is the precursor to the savior from the.
Did you hear that? The fool is the precursor to the savior. Right?
Symbolic perspectives, because you have to be a fool.
Just like a smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. Hooah? Right? An easy battle never made for a war-hardened general. Right?
Before you can be a master, and if you're not willing to be a fool, then you can't be a master. So you're gonna. It's an error-ridden process, and that's also laid out in the Old Testament stories, because the first thing that happens to all these patriarchal figures when God kicks them out of their father's house when they're like 84 is that they run into all sorts of trouble, and some of it's social and some of it's natural and some of it's a consequence of their own moral inadequacy. So they're fools. But the thing that's so interesting is that despite the fact that they're fools, they're still supposed to go on the adventure. And that they're...
What does that mean? That means despite the fact that they're fools, to find themselves interested here, we must, yes, Prairie Boy, ad hominem. You see it in politics, so on and so forth. But let me run that back a little bit.
But the thing that's so interesting is that despite the fact that they're fools, they're still supposed to go on the adventure.
That's it. Despite the fact that we have a lot of fools that are misaligning and misappropriating information, because I'm of God's people, I have to try to be the most accepting, right? That these people, now that I know that because they are attempting, they are going to fail. And because they are going to fail means the next time that they attempt, they will be hopefully more proficient.
And that they're capable of learning enough as a consequence of moving forward on the adventure so that they straighten themselves out across time. And so it's something like this circumambulation.
They straighten themselves out over time. Hooah. That's the hope, right? You can see a lot of people making all these blunders in the name of a young girl, right? It's because they've never handled these situations in life before, right? Now, at the end, we'll shortly discuss the people who have, or the type of character or personality of people who have blundered and been the fool and should now be the master, but they are not.
That Jung talked about was this continual circling, in some sense, of who you could be. You might notice, for example, that there are themes in your life. You know, when you go back across your experiences, you see you kind of have your typical experience that sort of repeats itself. And there might be variation on it, like a musical theme, but it's like you're circling yourself and getting closer to yourself as you move across time. That's the circumambulation. Now, remember that for a sec, because we'll go back to it. Okay, so imagine that something glimmers before you. It's an interest that's dawning.
Summer.
And you decide, well, first of all, you're paralyzed. You think, well, how do I know if I should pursue that? It's probably a stupid idea. And the proper response to that is, you're right, it probably is a stupid idea, because almost all ideas are stupid. And so the probability that as you move forward on your adventure that you're going to get it right the first time is zero. It's just not going to happen. And so then you might think, well, maybe I'll just wait around until I get the right idea, and which people do, right? So they're like 40-year-old, 13-year-olds, which is not a good idea. So they wait around until it's waiting for Godot, until they finally got it right. But the problem is you're too stupid to know when you've got it right.
Hooah! You're too stupid to know when you've got it right. Does sort of seem like a duplicity, doesn't it? Right? How do you know when you've got it right?
Right. So waiting around isn't going to help, because even if the perfect opportunity manifested itself to you in your incomplete form, the probability that you would recognize it as the perfect opportunity is zero. You might even think it's the worst possible idea that you've ever heard of anywhere. Highly likely. Highly likely. So Nietzsche called that a will to stupidity, which I really liked, because he thought of stupidity as being it. You know, it's
stupidity is the qualifier of master, of being a master, right? You start out an infant, you know, personified in anything you do. Even if you start at 80 years old, you start out as an infant in your knowledge, with the hopes that you go from infancy to, you know, grand understanding.
You have to take it into account fundamentally and work with it. And so you can take these tentative steps on your pathway to destiny, and you can assume that you're going to do it badly. And that's really useful, because you don't have to beat yourself up. It's pretty easy to do it badly. But
what are the people who are doing it badly but think they're doing it well? Is that a fool?
The thing is, it's way better to do it badly than not to do it at all. And that's a hell of a lot better than just rotting away at home. So that's good. And so why is that? Well, okay, so
that's important for the commenters that are nasty, right? At least some of us have taken the plunge, right? Some of us have taken the plunge, and now here we are, here an object for your amusement, but you're too scared to take the plunge. You're too scared to take the plunge and project your own voice. This ought to be interesting. Hold on, guys. Good morning, Dallas City Morgue. Got you on live. Is there anything you'd like to say? Is there anything you'd like to say? You told me I was wasted this morning, right? Right?
You're a meth head pedophile. Are you live? Because that's the truth.
I'm a meth head pedophile. Yes, I'm live.
You are. I've got receipts, buddy.
Well, you should take the items back if you have receipts, because they're no good.
Oh, they're good, buddy.
Okay. All day, every day. It is chasing justice, yeah. Funny thing about that is I know who exactly chasing justice is in real life. She wasn't hard to find. She makes the silly mistake of having all the same friends on her Facebook on both pages. Ain't that right, Carol? Yeah, Doug. Ooh wee, hoo-ah, folks. Here we go.
You start your path and you think that you're heading, towards your star. And so you go in that direction. And then, because you're here, the world looks a particular way. But then when you move here, the world looks different, and you're different as a consequence of having made that voyage. And so what that means is that now that thing that glimmers in front of you is going to have shifted its location, because you weren't very good at specifying it to begin with. And now that you're a little sharper and more focused than you were, it's going to reveal itself with more accuracy to you. And so then you have to take it's almost like a 180-degree reversal. But it isn't, because, you've gone this far, and that's a long ways to get that far. But that's a lot farther than you would be if you just stayed where you were waiting. And so it doesn't matter that you overshoot continually, because as you overshoot, even if you don't learn what you should have done, you're going to continually learn what you shouldn't keep doing. And if you learn enough about what you shouldn't keep doing, then that's tantamount at some point to learning at the same time what you should be doing. So
Did you get that? If we're only paying attention to the results and the proof of what we shouldn't be doing, it automatically shows us what we should be doing, right?
It's okay. Now, what's cool about it, though, I think, is that as you progress, the degree of overshooting starts to decline, right? There's nothing hypothetical about that. As you learn a new skill, like even to play a song on the piano, for example, you overshoot madly. You're making all sorts of mistakes to begin with, and then the mistakes, they
Lesson
disappear.
and lesson.
There's a great TED Talk, I think it was, about this guy set up a really advanced computational recording system in his home and recorded every single utterance his young child made while learning to speak. And then he put together the child's attempts to say certain phonemes and put them in a list. And you can hear the child deviating madly to begin with. And then after hundreds and hundreds of repetitions, just zeroing right in on the exact phoneme. So you might not know this, but when kids babble, because they start babbling when they're quite young, they babble every human phoneme, including all sorts of phonemes that adults can't say. And then they die into their language, so that after they learn, say, English, then there's all sorts of phonemes they can no longer hear or pronounce. But to begin with, it's all there, which is really quite interesting. But as they learn a particular language, they zero in on the proper way to pronounce that, and their errors minimize. And every time you learn something, that's how it is. And that's really useful to know, too, because it means that it's okay to wander around stupidly before you fix your destination. Now, you see that echoed in Exodus, right? Because what happens is that the Hebrews escape a tyranny, which is kind of whatever you do personally and psychologically when you escape from your previous set of stupidly held and
Whatever oppresses you, coming from an oppressive state.
ignorant and stubborn axioms. It's like, away from that tyranny. It's like, great, I freed myself from that. Well, then what? Well, you think, well, now I'm on the way. It's, no, you're not. Now you're in the desert, where you wander around stupidly, and worship the wrong things until you finally organize yourself morally again and head in the proper direction. So that's worth knowing too, because you think, well, I got rid of a lot of things, excess baggage that I didn't need in my life, and now everything's okay. It's like, no, it's not. You've got rid of a whole set of scaffolds that were keeping you in place, even though they were pathological. Now you have nothing, and nothing actually turns out to be better than something.
Yes, nothing ends up being better than something that's bad. Nothing ends up being better than something or anything that's bad.
Pathological, but you're still stuck with the problem of nothing. And that's exactly why Exodus is structured the way that it is. It's that you escape from eternity, it's hooray, we're no longer slaves. Yeah, well, now you're nihilistic and lost. It's not necessarily an improvement. It's also useful to know that, because you can also be deluded into the idea that, imagine that you're trying to become enlightened, which might mean to turn all those parts of you on that can be turned on. You think, well, that's just a linear pathway uphill. You know, it's just from one success to another. No, it's not. It's like, here you are and you're not doing too badly. And the first step is a complete bloody catastrophe. It's worse. And then maybe you can pull yourself together and you hit a new plateau, and then that crumbles and shakes, and bang, it's worse again. And so, because part of the reason that people don't become enlightened is because it's punctuated by intermittent deserts,
failures,
by intermittent catastrophes. And if you don't know that, well, then you're basically screwed, because you go ahead on your movement forward and you collapse and you think, well, that didn't work, I collapsed. It's like, no, that's par for the course.
That's a win.
It's not indication that you failed. It's just indication that it's really hard.
It's indication that you attempted.
And that when you learn something, you also unlearn something. And the thing you unlearned is probably useful, and unlearning it actually is painful. You know, let's say if you have to get out of a bad relationship, there isn't any relationship that's 100% bad. And so when you jump out of it, well, maybe you're in better shape, but you're still lonesome and disoriented. And you don't know what your past was, and you don't know what your present is, and you don't know what your future is. That's why people stay with the devil they know instead of, you know, looking for the devil they don't know. So anyways, the fact that you're full of faults doesn't mean you have to stop. And thank God for that. That's a really useful thing. And the fact that you're full of faults doesn't mean that you can't learn. And so you can posit an ideal, and you're going to be wrong about it, but it doesn't matter, because what you're right about is positing the ideal and moving towards it. If the actual ideal isn't conceptualized perfectly, well, first, surprise, surprise, because like what?
When is the base ideal ever conceptualized perfectly? Never.
What are you going to do that's perfect? So it doesn't matter that it's imperfect. It just matters that you do it and that you move forward. So that's really positive news as far as I'm concerned, because you can actually do that, right? You can do it badly. Anyone can do that. So that's useful.
Hoo-ah, guys. Anybody can do it badly. Anybody can do it badly. Right? I want to show you one more thing. Okay. Ad hominem. Yes, I do. Oh, it's not going to find my ad hominem video. I thought that would be nice to show the video that I made months and months and months ago about ad hominem, but it's going to be quite the task to find it. So, good morning, everyone. I hope that was informative, right? It may lend a little psychology, a little insight into what we're seeing here, right? We have people that don't even function positively in their own real existence. So there's just no way that we could expect them to come here and handle any of this with any sort of couth or care, right? It's just, I've got people telling me that, you know, because I support justice, that, you know, I'm a pedophile. How the heck do you suppose a YouTuber could get proof of my pedophilia, but the police can't? Why wouldn't this lady just turn in my receipts of pedophilia to the police and have me arrested right now? I'm sitting in my garage. Oh man, I'm so sick of this shit. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Y'all sick of it? I'm sick of coming out here talking shit to idiots, because it seems like less and less of the videos nowadays are aimed towards any of the supporters. It's trying to provoke me, like Lizzie's saying, so that I can say something nasty so that they have some content, you know. Like if you guys weren't so nasty spirited, you'd just be able to call down and have a conversation with them like I am. Doesn't mean I'm a pedophile because I'm a nice guy and I treat people according to the way justice wants me to treat them. Oh, man. I don't know, man. A lot of you guys out here think you got it hard, trying to help her. Think you got it this or that. Man, any of y'all getting CPS calls or any of y'all having the police sent to your house because you support justice first, and because you support justice by default, you automatically protect any victim who widely is looked at like a suspect, right? Brian Laundrie, same thing. That man's not been charged with anything. So if he wants to go camping in the woods, who the fuck's business is it of any of ours? Why are they sending huge search parties? Public pressure. That's why. Why did Mr. Laundrie go into hiding? Public pressure. Again, there is nothing that suggests yet, as of right now, there's nothing that suggests that the two of them aren't involved in something together. Ooh-ah. There's nothing that suggests that this, I saw a man, his name is Salvo Pancakes. He had a very good point. He said they wanted to be vloggers. In 4 or 5 month trip, they put out 1 5-minute video. So what the hell was going on the whole time? Got a lot of pictures and stuff, but they wanted to be vloggers. Vlogging is video, vlogging. They put out 1 video that was 4 or 5 minutes in 4 or 5 month trip. So when we know that Brian locked her out of the van, are we just assuming Brian was being mean? We saw the scratch on his eye. How do you know that she didn't do something to him? He locked her out, just drove away, just to cool off. And let's say, for instance, the dude that's killed, whoever this person is, that's killed the 2 other ladies, grabbed a hold of her. Yeah. Ellie's, yeah. Way too many stones, right? The only thing that they can do if they find Brian Laundrie, if they don't have, if there was a warrant, we'd know. The only thing they can do now is walk up on his camp in the woods and say, "Sir, are you okay?" And then he'll say, "Yeah, I'm fucking camping. What?" And then they have to they can't do nothing with him. If he doesn't want to go home, he doesn't have to go home. I think she just decided to give each other space. And when he went back to get her, she was gone. We have no reason to disbelieve what Miss Dee Dee said right here. It could very well be this. It doesn't have to be what you want it to be out there, people. He is not a wanted man. I think he's silent for reasons of word twisting. Maybe all the time they've spent on the internet, they've become very aware of the way missing people are handled. And maybe he's seen other instances of people getting slandered online, and then something pops into his life and he's like, whoa, I'm not saying nothing, right? It's definitely possible. You don't know that Gabby wasn't the nitro fuel in the fuse itself in that relationship. You don't know if Brian hasn't done something out of self-defense and is scared to say anything. So even if he waited a month and said, okay, fine, man, she tried to stab me and I had to do this, this, and this. Even if that is what happened a month later, they just got to prove that it was self-defense, right? What ad hominem thing. So, ad hominem. I don't know if Orrin and Orson. Only lonely baby. I'll just generically show an ad hominem so that you guys can get. Here we go. Actually, I used this video as the meat in potatoes. So.
Hi there, internet commenter. You've been sent a link to this video because someone is concerned that you might not be arguing your case to your utmost ability. They're concerned you might have used a fallacy to make an important point, thus defeating your own claim. The fallacy they're concerned you might have used is the ad hominem attack. Ad hominem criticism is where, instead of criticizing the argument or ideas of the person with whom you are conversing, you criticize the person themselves, and in so doing claim you have also criticized their argument.
And you have not. Oh, Benny, you just did a 2-hour stream about justice and the way it works, but you got yellow teeth. Nothing about what you just said for 2 hours, just the fact that you shave your beard and have yellow teeth. That's like when someone says, hey, Johnny, I think you stole my wallet. And Johnny says, your mom.
And boy, is this one popular. Ad hominem criticisms are not ways, but are very frequently fallacious.
Fallacious.
Unless the character or actions of the person making an argument are directly related to the matter at hand, criticizing them and not their ideas is a fallacy. Ad hominem attacks are the bread and butter of political advertising. Criticizing a candidate and saying that because their character is bad, their ideas and policies are also bad. John Smith literally hates little children, and so his ideas about salmon fishery safety regulations are wrong. Dead.
Did you get that? Did you get that? Hold on. Benny Keys. I can't intelligently disagree with anything you say in terms of science and stats. So you live in your mom's garage.
Are wrong. Dead wrong. Salmon fisheries.
This dude's funny.
And so his ideas about salmon fishery safety
Here.
really hates little children. And so his ideas about salmon fishery safety regulations are wrong. Dead wrong. A related fallacy is tu quo qui, where it is argued that a person making an argument has behaved in a way inconsistent with that argument. Their behavior might be inconsistent, but it doesn't necessarily make their argument wrong. For example, it's really important for fast food restaurants to be clear about the salt, fat, and sugar content of their food, doubly so because of how cheap it is. Obesity is a real problem in America. What business do you have asking companies to disclose this stuff? I saw you eat 2 Big Macs and drink 34 ounces of high-C orange lava burst yesterday. This is an ad hominem tu quo qui attack. Mike argues for the presence of certain dietary information, and Straw Mike says that based on his behavior, he lacks the authority to do so. Straw Mike's response doesn't at all approach the point Mike is making.
Hell no!
Mike is arguing that if certain dietary information were widely available, it's possible that an effect on obesity would occur. Ad hominem attacks make it so the person being attacked suddenly has to defend their character and not their ideas, when in fact their character has no bearing on the conversation whatsoever. And also, it's mean. You seem like a nice person. No need for
No, you don't seem like a nice person. You need to go to church.
insults. I hope this description of the ad hominem attack has been helpful. Happy conversing.
There you go. Fallacy. What's a fallacy, Benny?
Hey there, internet commenter. You've been sent a link.
Fallacy. A fallacy is the use of invalid or otherwise faulty reasoning or wrong moves in the construction of an argument. A fallacious argument may be deceptive by appearing to be better than it really is. That's because the masses of unintelligent people would prefer to jump on and have a conversation about the color of Benny's teeth instead of his vast knowledge of the judicial system. What that is, guys, remember, when someone comes over as a content creator, when someone comes over and says, hey, Cher, you look like this, or Mark, you look like this, remember, you just won. You just won. You cannot argue with a toddler on YouTube about very, very dynamic situations and events. Remember, guys, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. I see you, KK. I love y'all all individually. Remember, keep your head up like your nose is bleeding.